Hi guys, Burnt Out Culture here. Bit of a different one for you today. I've been luckily invited to a good friend of mine's fabulous game room. It's Gareth from Man Cave, UK.
How you doing?
Okay,
Hello.
so just put him in a shot there. Apologies, like I was just saying to Gareth, due to constraints of time, it's a rough and ready sort of pan round and some chat about various pieces in his great collection, things that stand out to me. So I'm going to put him on the spot and pick him at random, and he can tell me what they mean to him, a bit of history about and that sort of thing. I'll just do a bit of a pan round of the room because it's the first time I've been here and there's quite a lot to take in actually. Really impressive. It's got various cabinets with all sorts of sort of interesting items in.
There's a lot of moving merch as well, yeah.
There is. Some of these sort of shots may be familiar from Gareth's videos and his background, so it might not be you know, all new to you. Some of these views will be you've seen in the past, some of his items, but nice just to get sort of my perspective on it. So as you can see, he's got quite an sort of complex setup down here. Consoles and the Collectibles system there, and then we've got these bookcases. So it's this first sort of bookcase here, starting off at Dreamcast. As we move down, we're going to his Wii collection and GameCube. Some items there. Moving down onto Xbox 360, and then onto OG Xbox. Lovely collection there. So I think unfamiliar to me really, and like I say, it's sort of, I missed the boat a bit with Dreamcast, so a couple of games that Gareth can probably talk to us about on this. So what would you say is your sort of standout titles in your...
For me, on the Dreamcast, absolutely the Resident Evil titles, because these were ports from the PlayStation 1.
Right.
But what's really unique about these games is they were essentially the PC version of the game.
Yeah.
So there were better graphics, the sound were better, the sound chips they used were a lot better. So basically you got a better version of the game that you play on a PS1.
Right.
With the Dreamcast being more powerful. So if there's any games on the PS1 that you loved, if you wanted sort of the definitive version of that game, you'd get it on the Dreamcast, because the ports are really, really good.
And I know the Dreamcast, it's a system close to your heart, and you've got a lot of love for that.
It is, because it was well beyond its time. I remember it being a console that you really felt like you were in the future by buying it. It felt like it was sort of 10 years ahead rather than a couple of years ahead. Yeah, yeah. Because at the time, the PS1 was all the rage.
Okay.
That was the most popular console. That was 32-bit. That was 128-bit. So it were a massive leap. I don't think we've had a leap like that since then. It was certainly a massive jump from the standard 32-bit consoles. Okay. And the graphics basically looked as good as the arcade, which was really unique, and that's what made the ports really, really authentic, that the graphics looked as good as the arcade.
Yeah, well I mean for me it's a system that I definitely need to dip a toe into. I guess if I'm being honest, it's something that's always been on the back burner and never really got round to as yet, but I definitely need to visit it for sure. So moving on to GameCube, obviously this looking like a standout title.
Yeah, again another port. Again, you know, a great version of the game on the PS1. But then you've got other standout titles that obviously were unique to the GameCube, like Mario Kart, which is an amazing game. Super Mario Sunshine, which is an incredible Mario game. And then, let's have a look what else we've got. There was again loads of other ports. So you've got Tony Hawk Skateboarding, Resident Evil 4, which the original console for it to come out on was actually the GameCube. As you know, it's been ported to about 10 different consoles since then. I mean, you can even get a PS4 version now. But what I've been focusing on the GameCube recently is the Star Wars titles, so the Rebel Strike, Rogue Leader, and Clone Wars, and all the other titles. Because the thing with Nintendo, they've always had a really good partnership with LucasArts when it comes to the Star Wars games. So if you ever want to play a really cracking Star Wars game, it's always been on a Nintendo platform rather than Sony or whatever. Yeah,
brilliant. So let's just move on to this middle section then, so we've obviously got N64 here, he's got some boxed ones at the back. Just going down onto PS3, some more Xbox 360, and then a system dear to my heart, the PS2, and then some more OG Xbox. He's got some cool figures here. Are they Gears of War then,
Gears
Gareth?
of War,
yeah,
Tomb Raider.
Yeah. And he's got some boxed items up here, some more Dreamcast stuff up there, Shenmue, etc. Lilac Wars, N64, some real cool items in here actually. So what we're talking about standout sort of game in your collection for N64 then, Gareth,
Again, it'd be the exclusives for the N64, the exclusive games such as GoldenEye, Mario Kart. A game that wasn't an exclusive, but for me I preferred the version, was Star Wars Pod Racer. An awful lot of fun to play. But you know, Mario 64, Mario Kart, you just can't go wrong. They were amazing titles.
Brilliant.
And for me, I find it an underrated platform. A lot of people don't really have a lot of nostalgia for the N64. And for me, it was cool to see a 3D sort of environment that was still on a cartridge. They didn't ditch the cartridge, whereas everyone else were jumping on the bandwagon of the CD format. And I found that quite unique about the N64. And again, I mean, they did some amazing things. So you'd have things on the PlayStation 1 that would be spread out over 2 or 3 discs, and they'd bang it on the cartridge, which were amazing.
So you mentioned this Resident Evil were a bit of a feat, wanted to squeeze
Resident
that on.
Evil 2, it's absolutely a legendary game in terms of it being a port, because people thought it was impossible to get all of that data on a cartridge. I will say the sound isn't very good. I think the sound chip they use isn't very good. It's quite compressed. It's quite ghosty. The sound is a bit tinny at times. But just to get that on a cartridge in its full feature was an amazing feat.
Excellent.
So it's really, really cool.
Real good stuff. I noticed we've got the Uncharted. So moving on to this last section of these bookcases, then we've got the Uncharted 4.
L'Italia edition, which is the collector's edition version, which came with the Nathan Drake statue, which is a staple part of my collection.
If only I had space for stuff like this.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's all about space.
You've got a chunky sort of collection of PS1 there, a system I'm trying to get into myself to collect for. Again, God knows where I'll be putting it, but it's something that I have collected for in the past, but I've sort of moved away. I'm definitely wanting to come back to it. Just going down, we've got some Mega Drive, so this is your Sega shelf there.
Not enough games there. That's something I need to focus on. The Mega Drive and the Master System is something I want to focus on in the future. But I was quite late to the party, if I'm honest. I was at the sort of latter end of the Master System and Mega Drive.
Okay.
And then what made me a gamer was absolutely the PlayStation 1. But I still have a lot of nostalgia for the Master System and the Mega Drive. Games like Land of Illusion, Mickey Mouse, Jurassic Park, Altered Beast, stuff like that.
Me too. The games that sort of real nostalgic ones.
They're really cool arcade ports as well. They were just so awesome. I mean, Toy Story actually means a lot to me. That was such a great game, and it was so great looking because it almost looked like it was 32-bit. 2D, but it looked a lot more brighter and the colours were a lot more vivid. And to say it were from, you know, a console that was only 16-bit, it was really, really good looking. It was a really good game.
We can't leave this section then without talking about this guy, can we? Let's have a look. So what do we know about him?
So that's William Birkin. He's one of the main bosses, the main characters in Resident Evil 2, and obviously he's been featured on the remake as well. So obviously he's one of the main bosses. Now I got that in 1998 in Spain. I think it might have been Salou in Spain. I think it's the south of Spain. And it wasn't cheap actually. I think it was about £40 even then.
Wow.
But I saved up all my holiday money to purchase it because you couldn't buy anything like that in the UK at the time.
No. Well, it's certainly got a lot of detail, hasn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very detailed.
We're having nightmares about that. Let's see if I can put him back without him falling over. Right, so just talking about a couple of his framed pieces of art, really, we can call them, can't we?
Yeah, so that's a signed piece by John Romero. He's the guy that started ID Software, which is the guys who made Doom, and they also made Quake. And a lot of other amazing first-person shooters. They were unique and incredible because they basically created the first-person shooter games back in the day. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't have Call of Duty and any of the games that you love today. But meeting him at Revival last year was awesome. and he was kind enough to sign and obviously frame this nice piece of artwork.
Excellent, excellent. Just moving on. So is this the pièce de résistance of your collection in terms of?
This is awesome. This is
so
this is a composition of music that's been printed, and Nathan McCree, the guy who created the music for Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3, so the original Tomb Raiders that were made in Derby, he signed this, and I've got some of my games signed by Nathan McCree as well, which is really awesome. But he's one of the most famous people in the world for making game music. He's quite a big deal, is Nathan McCree.
Wow.
So meeting him and having a few beers and talking about Lara Croft and how they created Tomb Raider was a really good night.
It's a really unique piece, isn't it? And
it's
obviously means a lot to you, that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's really
definitely.
important.
What about this last one then?
So that's a piece of artwork that I got off the PlayStation website. The artwork is mainly Resident Evil 2, which is one of my favourite games of all time. So I couldn't help but get it. But that was only £15 off the website.
Good stuff.
Which I thought were a good price. And,
good stuff.
A nice piece of artwork. Yeah,
cool. Nice. Moving on to this then, so he's got some magazines here. What's what we got? We've got
lots of PlayStation.
PlayStation ones, yeah. Okay, official PlayStation magazines. We've got some Boxed X360. I was telling him I really like this this Star Wars limited edition 360. Really sweet. That I might have to look at trying to pick one of those up for myself. I've seen them before. Never seen a boxed one though, so that's nice to see. We've got the lovely Master System Mark 1 there as well. We've got a character from Stranger Things. That's really cool, isn't that, Jay?
Yeah, it was a birthday present.
Detail, and that's fabulous. Really nice. We've got some. What else we got in here?
Game of Thrones cup.
Game of Thrones cup. Wow.
There's Pokemon cards. There's a Game Boy there. There's some.
So it's a mixed bag of sort of.
Yeah, it's miscellaneous. It's a shelf where I'm not sure where else.
Yeah, we've all got a miscellaneous section, mate. Don't worry about that. Another Xbox down there. OG. We've got some. Is there? Yeah, we've got some books. I can see a PlayStation 1 in there. There's all sorts in here.
There's also about 300 games, sort of like spare copies.
Right.
So games that are not boxed, and they're all in the cases.
We've got the notorious PS1 Mini there. We're not talking about that. No, we're not talking.
£50 I lost on that overnight, essentially.
We've got some cups, and then this that I noticed earlier. Gareth's partner Lucy was telling me about these, so I think this is really cool. They popped up on the Nintendo Alex Arcade, and Scott Brand, I know he gifted him some of these Nintendo playing cards. It was quite shocking to hear just how old Nintendo are and what they used to do. So they were manufacturing these sort of things prior to even making video games, apparently. So that was good to hear about. So they really like them, Gareth. Right, so this lovely glass cabinet that you've got, are these prized pieces or?
Yeah, I'll just have a look. I'll wait let you get into it. I'll open it up, don't worry.
Okay, mate.
Just help yourself. Have a look.
Some real nice pieces in here.
Yeah, some really nice pieces. Anything that means an awful lot to me. So personally, it'll be in here.
Goes in here, does it?
Especially if it's signed or, let's say, very rare or in mint condition. So the boxed consoles in here are literally like new.
Okay.
So they're centerpieces to the collection.
Yeah. Wow.
There's also some press kits in there that were given to people at E3, so things you couldn't buy wouldn't be on general sale.
Cool. So you've still a little bit of shelf space left. You can still.
Yeah, I've been clearing out quite a lot, and I think things will be put in this at some point, so it will be filled out.
Yeah. We've got the Japanese N64 there, so I know you're enjoying collecting for that, aren't you? Getting some bargains.
A lot of fun.
Brilliant.
So that Sega Master System 2 box, the reason I wanted it in such good condition and were willing to pay pretty much anything for it was that was my first ever console when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Same here. It was the first actual console that I owned. I remember getting it for Christmas. I've probably told that story where my mum and dad wouldn't let me unbox it on Christmas Day till I took Dog for a walk.
Yeah. I think it was 1989 I got that console for the first time. And I can tell you exactly how much my mum paid for it, actually. She paid £50 and we got 40 games of it.
Jeez.
So it was an absolute bargain.
That was a bargain.
Absolute bargain.
We've got the ubiquitous box of cables and controllers that
which
everyone
is really,
seems to acquire.
Really tidy, actually.
Yeah.
It's as you can see. I mean, we're moving house. That's the thing. You get time to tidy up.
Yeah.
But it's quite.
Who's this guy in this picture then, Gareth?
That's John Romero. That's the guy who created Doom.
Wow.
So that was at Revival last year.
Excellent. I think I was probably pissed out of my head when
I think so, yeah. Well, I heard you were.
Doubt.
You were wankered.
Cool poster there.
So that's the kids from Stranger Things at the arcade. And I just thought it were a really cool piece for the game room.
It is, mate. No doubt.
Because again, I mean, it's 80s nostalgia, and at the same time, to have something, you know, about the arcade was pretty cool.
Excellent. Guitar Hero there. In the corner. So moving on to his collect system here, cube system. We've got the Jägermeister. Do you use it?
I only turn it on when I've got beers in it. So at the moment there's no beers in it, but yeah, I will be turning it on at some point soon.
Now I know this piece means a lot to you, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
I know it featured in your recent video. Are they rare then? Are they difficult to get hold of?
They're not super rare, but you're not going to find them on a regular basis. They're not common by any means.
And this it's not your normal PS1 controller, is it?
It's the
different colour.
Basically, the original PlayStation is called a PlayStation. That was called a PS1.
Yeah.
So P and S and then O and E. It was a completely different model, a slimmed down model.
Right.
So it was a new version, basically, of the PS1.
Okay, mate. So we've got a Wii console there. We've got the Gears of War Xbox 360, which is super cool. We've got numerous.
We've got a lot of Wii's down there. Yeah.
More Wii's down here.
Which I'll be surely getting rid of at some point.
We've got a GameCube. We've got the Master System 2. We've got the Crystal Xbox, which I've got, very similar to that. I think you've got the slightly newer
it's modded,
setup to mine.
It is modded. It's got LEDs, and let's see if it turns on actually.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice piece of kit. I got that from Dylan Craven.
Mine's more green, I think. Yeah, I think mine's sort of.
You can change the LEDs.
Can you?
Yeah, yeah. You can go into a little option setting. Watermelon N64. I'm going to be getting different variants. I'm getting the green one at some point as well.
Yeah. I like them all, mate.
They're awesome, aren't they? Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. I think a lot of people try to get every one of them, don't they?
Yeah.
Collectors.
But I'll tell you something, they're a lot of money.
Are they?
Unboxed are about 140 quid each.
Dreamcast down there. Got PS3. And then we've got various PS2s. We've got the Fat Silver. And we've got a black pink and another silver slim. We've got the Dreamcast keyboard. And then we've got this new system that he's got. The new Nintendo Switch. I was saying to him that I've been putting it off buying one due to price. I still think it's slightly a bit too rich for me, but I must admit some of the games that I've seen on them really are cool, and I do like these pads, I must admit. Have you played it handheld, would you say, more, or on TV then, Gareth?
I had it handheld. I played Mario Odyssey for about an hour last night in bed.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget, I was saying to Lucy, you forget that actually it's a handheld console at the same time, so it were weird to say actually I can play this in bed, but pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the big appeal of it, isn't it? You can just really play it anywhere really, can't you?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So we're almost at the end. He's got the, I believe they're called standees, did you say these?
Yeah, POS.
So the
Point
Uncharted
of sale
4, which is really cool really cool. I must admit I'd like one of them.
Again, it's who you know. I know a guy who owns a game shop, and I do get a lot of good stuff.
So I'm sure you agree, guys, he's got some lovely pieces, a lot of pieces that are real, sort of mean a lot to him, and he's, you know, quite rare pieces as well. Certainly these framed pieces of work, they're really nice. Very impressive, mate, really impressed.
Thank you.
Some lovely items in here. So as is customary with a game room tour, cannot view his collection free of charge. So I was saying to Gareth, I'd had a quick scan through his OG Xbox collection, and I wasn't seeing it in there. I don't think he's got it. I don't see it.
You're still debating whether I've got it or not.
So I'm opening it. So it's Jade Empire limited edition, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. No, I haven't got this actually.
Oh well, that's good. That's good. So
that's great, mate.
No problem whatsoever, mate. You can stick that in. You've still got a little
nice
bit
cover
of room
that as well.
yeah, it
edition.
is. Yeah,
yeah.
It's not the steelbook, but it's still technically limited. I don't actually know what the limited edition part of it is, but it's apparently it's a really good game. Not even played it.
Looks awesome, mate.
I'll admit it, but
thanks very
cool,
much.
Mate. So
really nice here. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us see your room, mate. Really
no
appreciate
problem,
it.
mate. All the best.
Thank you. Right, guys, I'll buzz off now because we're gonna do a podcast now with Gareth. Like I say, time's a bit limited, so thanks ever so much for watching. I'm sure you agree. He's got quite an impressive room here. Really, really nice, really clean and sort of fresh vibes in here. Gives off. Very jealous of this space, it has to be said. Right guys, take it easy, I'll see you soon. Long live the retro.